From the Jays' additions to the Mets' chance of redemption, here's the top MLB teams with the best off-seasons. A lot of teams have needed to redo their whole lineup, and some are doing it right. Just take a look at the Texas Rangers.
Here's Valeria's second at-bat since his call-up.
Colombian-born catcher in Major League history. There's a bouncer up the middle. Diving stop by Hernandez.
This year, the Rangers took a totally different route than the one they took last year. They previously ended up spending approximately $560 million in the offseason, and most of the money went on hitters. That's a stark comparison to their game plan this year. The Rangers set about trying to improve one of MLB's worst pitching staffs. They signed Jacob deGrom, who is currently the best pitcher in the industry, unless you consider Justin Verlander in the brief term. Anyway, that wasn't all. The Rangers got 3 more free agent position players to supplement John Gray and Martin Perez, who himself was brought back through free agency. Either way, the lineup has the potential to be top 10, but it'll most likely require 1 or 2 more significant additions. The Rangers have plenty of resources to compete with this unit, which they almost certainly will. Another team who everyone's excited to see next season is the San Diego Padres.
Evan Longoria after the first pitch to deep center field. Trent Grisham has just enough room, and he makes the catch.
A.J. Preller, the Padres general manager, settled for relatively small complimentary additions to improve on 89 victories and a trip to the NLCS. Surprisingly, the biggest offseason addition was signing shortstop Xander Bogaerts for 11 years and at a price of a staggering $280 million. It's officially put Fernando Tatis Jr. on track to play outfield. Well, mostly, and that too once his PED suspension is completed. The team also extended right-hander Yu Darvish contract for $108 million through his age 41 season. The paycheck has risen from $175 million to around $243 million and is only second to the Mets and Yankees for the time being. Getting past the Dodgers in the NL West is still a huge challenge for sure, but San Diego has no obligation to win more regular season games than LA to get there. Let's see what return they get from their millions. Bogaerts is a good investment, and so is Darvish, but not all teams made the best investments. Some teams, like the Chicago Cubs, could have done better.
That one line and caught. Nice play by Giambrone, and he shows it to the second base umpire, Greg Gibson.
The offseason began with speculation that the Cubs would be one of the major free agent players. In a way, they were, though the majority of the money ended up going to Dansby Swanson and James Tylan, and the money itself wasn't a small amount either. It was a total of $245 million. Nonetheless, club president Jed Hoyer changed some lineup holes and added bullpen depth in the hopes of moving from 74 wins to playoff contention. The Cubs' offseason would have been much more complete if they had figured out how to re-sign catcher Willie Contreras, who they might have afforded all along, but it's all right. Though Contreras has a stellar record, Swanson and Tylan aren't that far behind either. There's another team that's had quite an interesting offseason, and that's the Toronto Blue Jays.
Does it again with the bases loaded, and it makes it a 5-0 game.
Keep it simple. I think that's the best approach you can have with the bases loaded. Remind yourself.
With Alejandro Kirk and Danny Jansen at catcher, the Blue Jays used top draft pick Gabriel Moreno to sign Dalton Varsho. This helps give them a huge left-handed bat in the center of the lineup and a great, if short, defensive pedigree. Chad Green is recovering from a Tommy John operation, and he isn't expected to return until the middle of the season, but he should help the bullpen during the final stretch. Outfielder Kevin Kiermaier is one of MLB's best defensive players, and Brandon Belt is an underrated player who really should benefit from a better hitting environment and the capability to DH whenever he wants. As important as the roster turnover is, Toronto's improvement in 2023 depends on Vladimir Guerrero resuming MVP form and Bo Bichette discovering another gear offensively. On the mound, Jose Barrios regaining his old form could help the pitching staff in the regular season and playoffs, assuming they make it that far. But all this sets up for a very exciting regular season, doesn't it? Los Angeles Angels also took a similar trajectory to the Jays.
Hot shot to third. Great play by Mayfield. Throw to first in time to get him. Wow!
The Angels' offseason was similar to Toronto's, albeit with more mid-level players. In 2022, it was either feast or famine. It had terrific stars at the top like Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, as well as Taylor Ward's breakout season. Everywhere else, there have been injuries and underachievers. Just look at GM Perry Manassian. He didn't really add much star power, but he did fill a few holes. As a result, the Angels lineup will no longer contain as many sub-replacement level players. Depth is crucial. Anyway, a healthy Anthony Rendon coming back to the lineup would be a significant improvement, as would first baseman Jared Walsh resuming his previous form. Reed Detmer's continued development would also be quite beneficial. The Angels should make the playoff, but they'll most likely be in the center of the pack rather than at the front. It'd be a way better season than the previous decade. But if we're going to talk about teams who are definitely having a better upcoming season, I can't leave out the New York Mets.
McNeil scrambles after it and throws him out. Great recovery by McNeil, playing the rover in that shifting defense.
Citi Field has seen almost all of the offseason activity in some form or another. The payroll tax was literally titled after Steve Cohen by the other club owners, but the Mets owner supposedly doesn't mind paying it. Why, you might ask? Well, because the team has apparently spent $806 million on player contracts since November. The Mets expect to spend at least $350 million this season thanks to right-handers Justin Verlander and Kodai Senga, as well as a slew of contract extensions to ensure the lineup and bullpen. That doesn't include releasing right-hander Jacob deGrom in free agency or withdrawing their offer to sign Carlos Correa. Not bringing in deGrom and Correa may have just as much of an impact as the moves the Mets did make. Some have compared the Mets' actions to treading water. The Mets did, however, win 101 games in 2022, and if they repeat in 2023, they'll be given the chance to take home the World Series for the first time since 1986. And don't forget, that's still the main goal. Clearly, the Mets have their eyes on the prize, but the Philadelphia Phillies are also coming for that prize. The Phillies should probably keep adding players, if only because Walker alone doesn't account for rotation depth. But on the other hand, he is coming off a better season than any of the other players competing along him. Over 157.1 innings, he pitched to a 3.49 ERA, and his splitter established itself as one of the greatest off-speed pitches in the game. Oh, but that's not all. Did I mention the Phillies now have Trey Turner? Because the Philadelphia Phillies now have Trey Turner. It's an incredible fit, and not only because the Phillies had quite a hole at shortstop and filled it with a player who ranks third in RWAR at the position since 2018. Kyle Schwarber has been playing in that spot, but his low OBP, high SLG style is ideally equipped for lower in the order. This also makes Turner a more natural fit for the leadoff spot. After a down year, Kimbrel is truly a worthwhile dice roll, and Strom is the second left-hander the Phillies needed in their bullpen, alongside Jose Alvarado. Their new lineup will definitely make the regular season way more exciting. Well, that was it for the top MLB team with the most impactful off-seasons. See you in the next video.